Hello everyone! Today we are building the Abbey and Orphanage for the Order of the Grey Woman. In my previous video, we built Our Lady of Plumbob's Church, which is their place of worship and also their owned business community lot. The residence includes the 3 sisters of the order, Sister Ella, Sister Luann, and Sister Ariana, and the 5 toddler orphans in their care, Jacoby, Jude, Violet, Micah, and Liam. For this build, I wanted it to look like it was once a small manor house with an extension attached that might have been formerly a barn but has now been renovated for the homeowners. It has 2 stories, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen, dining room, laundry room, conservatory, living room, office, and a multi-purpose room, all on a 30 by 30 lot. Again, I'm going with an English country house vibe with this lot and the whole hood. I made this house from scratch. I didn't follow any plans at all, and that's probably why I had such a hard time. But I'm really proud of how it turned out. In the previous hood, Oceanside, the orphans arrived with their ward, Felicity Wayward, who at the time was taking care of 8 toddlers all by herself. I kind of made it into an 8 toddler challenge, which was not wise of me at all. 3 of the orphans were adopted. Elise and Butterfly were adopted by the Killians, who are the nursery school teachers, and Riley was adopted by the firefighter, Daisy Dalpozo. Unfortunately, Felicity is currently pregnant with twins, and there's no way she could take care of 5 toddlers and 2 babies. So the alternative I came up with was that the Order of the Grey Woman would now take care of them, at least until they turn into teens. Felicity is still the social worker of the hood, but any children taken away will end up at the Abbey instead of Felicity's lot. So Felicity's baby daddy is none other than Malcolm Landgraf X, who is married to another Sim and already has 5 kids by her, so... The main goal of this lot is to have the toddlers learn all of their toddler skills before they age up. Learning to talk usually happens at the nursery school, and so far all of the toddlers, all of the orphans have learned to talk. Violet, Micah, and Liam are potty trained, so they just need to finish up the potty training for the rest of the toddlers and then have them learn to walk and learn the nursery rhyme. The problem is that they will age up at the end of the round, so we might run out of time. But to me, it doesn't really matter. Like, the challenge was more for me to see if I could teach them all the toddler skills before they age up anyway, so I'm okay. I do have an aging mod where the Sims ages are longer than usual. I'm using Almighty Hat's gestational-based aging for ACR2, which gives the Sims 12 days as toddlers instead of the default 4 days as toddlers. My whole hood is based around this aging mod, so 4 days in my game is a season, and 4 seasons are a year. My university, when I need it, will be 1 year long, with each semester only being 1 season. So hopefully that makes sense. And the mod itself is based on mirroring the 3 days of Sim pregnancy to 9 months of in real life pregnancy, and the aging spans are created from that. To me, it's probably the most realistic age mod that mirrors our own lifespan, so that's why I really like to use that one. But it could be a little cheaty if you're trying to actually do a challenge. But again, I don't really care about following every rule of a challenge. To me, they're just suggestions. And I'm not following any of those let's be mean to the orphans tropes. We take good care of our kids in our orphanage. They are well loved by their caretakers, so you don't have to worry about that. And I forgot, the other challenge at the orphanage is to get the kids adopted. So any Sim that walks by, I try to have them greet them so that they can come in and spend time with the orphans. If the walk-by Sims, if they become friends with the toddlers and they don't already have a million kids, I'll have them be adopted by the adults. So that's how Riley was adopted. Daisy stopped by and just kept interacting with her until they were best friends. So even though Daisy was a single Sim living alone, I saw the bond that they shared, and I knew that Riley and Daisy were meant to be mother and daughter. I also have 3 cats on the property. They're named Abbey, Pearl, and Tempo. I imagine that these are the stray cats that just hung around the Abbey and the sisters just started taking care of them. The high priest Ella has the cat person trait, and her hobby is nature with a sub-hobby of animals. So in my head canon, she is the one that takes the cats in and cares for them. The cat Abbey is the oldest. She's an elder, and I named her for the Abbey. Pearl is named after Sister Luann's hobby of knitting, and it's spelled P-U-R-L, like knit one, pearl two. And Tempo is named after Sister Ariana's hobby, which is playing the piano. They all have their own beds and bowls, and they're free to roam around the Abbey and give love to all the orphans. So I had a lot of problems with this build. I originally thought that I would put the extension on the ground level and then have the main house on a foundation, but it really wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. And then after a while, I realized that I didn't need to do that. Both parts of the house could just be on a foundation, and I don't know why I was making it more complicated than it was. And also I had problems with the roof. So I hate roofs in The Sims 2. I can't stand them. They never do what I want them to do. It's so frustrating. So even though they were not what I envisioned in the build, I used the apartment life roofs. I like the look of these roofs, but they don't scream English countryside to me. It looks more French country to me, but you know, I just have to deal with it. All the roofs in the hood will probably be these apartment life ones because I'm not dealing with these stupid roofs not working the way I want them to. For the exterior walls, I'm using the Castle Estate kit conversions from Lord Crumps again, and I'll probably be using these for all or at least most of the houses in the hood. And I built a little conservatory on the side so they can grow some crops. I'm hoping to have all the lots have at least something on them for the Sims to grow like their own food and veggies and fruit and stuff. So the biggest mistake I made when I built this house was I built the house, I started decorating the exterior of it, and then I realized that I made the main house 6 by 12 instead of 12 by 12. And I kept looking at it and I was like, why is this house so long and skinny? This is so weird. So I redid it. I did it off camera and made it the correct size. So you might see it change from a skinny little house to like a normal size house. And that's when I just redid it and then on my own off camera. And in the front, I gave them more planting boxes, and I put a little fountain with a statue of the gray woman and a lemon tree. And of course, I put a bunch of bushes and ivy all around to liven up the place and add some color. While watching a lot of Devin Bumpkin's videos, I've been noticing that the country homes don't really have a lot of grassy front lawns. Like it's mostly stone instead of grass, which I'm not used to at all. So here I'm trying out the different stone terrain paints in a few different ways, and I actually like the finished product, so I'm glad I tried it. For the interior, I used the Nostalgia conversions by KestrelTeens. I was very excited to use these, and thank you so much for converting them. I wanted the Abbey to feel homey and cozy, but not expensive. I think the sisters live a very simple life, not a lot of personal items, there's no new items. Probably everything that's in the house are donations from the parishioners and such, and this whole nostalgia set really gives off that vibe, and I think worked really, really well in the house. I kept the colors pretty neutral as well. I used greens, browns, tans, beiges. There's a few knickknacks here and there, but I tried to keep the clutter down to a minimum. The main living room is used for visitors, and it's the more formal area than the multi-purpose room. The television is in here, and I made sure to put knitting items in there so Sister Luann can knit. I imagine she'll knit little sweaters and hats for the children to wear. The kitchen is pretty big. It's also very plain, not a lot of clutter. I have extra seating in the kitchen for dining. I really didn't want to put an island in this kitchen because I wanted to feel like a vintage style kitchen. I really like these cabinets that are also by Platinum Aspiration. The brown wood tone and the tile countertops reminds me of the 80s. These are also 42 conversions, and I know I said this before, but my game right now is pretty much like 85% or so of 42 conversions. I really like them in the game. I think it really adds to the look and really enhances the look of The Sims 2. The dining room is pretty plain, like the rest of the Abbey. I wanted to make sure there was enough room for everyone to eat, including the kitties. I have their bowls in the dining room. The toddlers each have their own high chair as well. So hopefully, everybody in the house can eat together. But you know how Sims are. They'll go all the way to the other side of the house to sit down and eat instead of where you want them to go. For the art on the wall, I use a lot of the photos from the Sims Medieval game. I don't remember where I got the original images, but someone actually extracted all of the images from Sims Medieval, and then I just made recolors of them and put them in my game. And so for the Abbey, I used all the ones that looked kind of religious. Ella's bedroom is bigger than the other sisters' bedrooms because she is the high priest. But she still doesn't have a lot of personal belongings in view. She has her own desk and she has a fireplace. All of the sisters have the same bed and the same trunk at the foot of their beds. I imagine the trunk is where they hold what little belongings that they have, and it's always prepared and ready to go if they need to go on a mission somewhere or something like that. All the sisters have a book of the Watcher Bible on their nightstand. And the one thing that Ella does display as her personal item are the cat plates that are all over her bed, because again, she's really into cats. She's a big cat lady. And also each room has a picture of the Gray Woman. And I actually just made a sim in Cast that I think kind of looks like the Gray Woman. And then I did like a little photo shoot with her and just made the images into recolors. The office is located right off of the living room and is where the high priest has all of her documentation on the orphans. I use the Nostalgia Sets picture frames that let you add the Sims on the lot to the frame. Then I use these little birth certificate plaques underneath. And my thinking was that when the children are adopted, the new parents would receive the photo and the birth certificates to make it seem like it was an official adoption. The multipurpose room is part of the extension of the house, and it has a more comfy feel. It has comfy seating, a fireplace, and a piano so the sisters can sing hymns together while Sister Ariana shows off her skills on the piano. The toddler table is also here, as well as toys for the kids and toys for the cats. The second floor houses the orphans' bedrooms, which are 2 separate bedrooms that hold 3 beds each, and then Sister Luann's room and Sister Ariana's room. The orphans' rooms have beds in them currently because I didn't want to add cribs or toddler beds and then have to change them out for the regular beds at the end of the round once they age up to children. I thought I was being very clever and I decided to put the cribs on top of the beds and then use an invisible recolor of them. And I tested it outside on the street where I had all the Sims while I was trying to make the build, and it worked perfectly. You know, the sisters could put the toddlers in the cribs on the bed, and it looked like they were just laying down on the bed. But then when I got inside the house and went to do the same thing, there's shadows on the crib, of course. And they show up on the wall. And I don't really like it. But, you know, I'll just live with it. It's going to be 4 days that they're going to be toddlers. I'll just live with it until they age up. And then I can take the cribs and put them in the storage spaces in the roof. And then, you know, I'll reuse them later. I'm not selling any of the items as the orphans age up, like the cribs and the high chairs, because I'm sure there'll be more kids finding their way to the orphanage. Like if the prisoners, the current prisoners, have a baby while they're in prison, that baby will stay at the orphanage until they're released from prison. And if the woohoo workers end up having babies, they'll probably give their babies up to the orphanage. Or, maybe they'll keep them. Who knows? The sisters are not sworn to celibacy or anything like that, so they can woohoo whomever they want. And if they do have a baby, it'll more than likely be raised at the Abbey with the mother and all the orphans. Sister Luann's room is similar to Sister Ella's, with the bed, the trunk, the wardrobe, the Book of the Watcher, everything. But for her personal touch, she has some cross-stitching items and more knitting items. Each of the sisters' bedrooms will have places for the cats to sleep as well, but I suspect the cats will end up just sleeping on the sisters' beds instead. Luann and Ariana's rooms connect through a bathroom that they share. Sister Ariana's room is the same as Luann's, but since she's new to the order, she doesn't really have any personal items to add, so hers is just really plain. And that's about it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more detailed photos of the build, please check out my website or my Tumblr, which is linked below. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.